Well, hey there, y'all. Pull that chair up a little closer. And come on, settle in with me. Let's continue on with that story. Tonight, remember, it starts with one of the worst disasters in American history. The earth was shaking, buildings were collapsing. Fire consumed all the neighborhoods. More than half of San Francisco found itself homeless almost overnight. Yet somehow, out of all the stories that managed to survive from that terrible week, one of the most beloved stories involves, guess what? A cow. Now, if you're thinking, surely there were bigger heroes than a cow, well, probably, most definitely, and I can guarantee you're right. But history doesn't always remember who deserves it. Sometimes history remembers who just showed up. And on April 18th, 1906, when the city was falling apart all around them, a milk cow, literally a milk cow, showed up. And without knowing it, she became part of San Francisco's folklore and most beloved history. That morning, everything went wrong. The morning began at 5:12 a.m. Most folks were asleep. Some were getting ready for work. A few bakers were already making bread. Streetcar operators were preparing for another day. Sailors rocked quietly in the harbor. Then the earth decided it had enough, and it made its own plans. The great San Francisco earthquake struck with a tremendous force no one ever expected. Walls were collapsing, bricks exploding from buildings, windows shattered, church steeples fell all over. Roads began cracking wide open. People were thrown from their beds, and for less than a minute, the city felt like it was riding a giant wave. One survivor later described it as standing on a deck of a ship during a bad storm. Another said it sounded like hundreds of trains rushing underground all at the same time. Now I'll tell you right now, if the floor beneath my feet started buckling like a rodeo bull before sunrise, I'd have had exactly two thoughts. First, Lord have mercy, and second, well, there goes today's schedule. That's when the city begins to burn. As terrible as all those earthquakes were, the fire proved even worse. Gas lines were rupturing. Cooking stoves were overturned. Electrical wires, they began sparking. Small fires were appearing everywhere. Normally, the firefighters would have handled them, except for there was one little problem. Okay, actually one huge problem. The water mains, they had all broken, which is about as useful as bringing a fishing pole to a tornado. Fires merged together, neighborhoods after neighborhood. Well, they were catching fire. Smoke was filling the sky. Families ran carrying whatever they could. Photographs, blankets, wedding rings, children. Anything they could grab before running into the streets. And all across San Francisco, people began walking. They were walking towards parks. They were walking towards open spaces. They were walking towards anywhere the flames weren't. All they could do was just walk. So many became refugees of this earthquake. Golden Gate Park filled with survivors. So did the Presidio. So did vacant fields and public squares. Thousands upon thousands of people suddenly found themselves living outside. The rich sat beside the poor. Bakers sat beside the laborers. Restaurant owners sat beside dock workers. Disaster has such a funny way of introducing people. Nobody cared what neighborhood you came from. Nobody cared how fancy your house used to be. The only things that concerned everybody happened to be the same questions. Where am I sleeping tonight? What are we going to eat? Is my family safe? And perhaps most important, have you seen any coffee? Because let's be honest, human civilization runs on hope, but it also runs on coffee. And I can say I agree. because I'm drinking a cup right now. However, through all this, there was a remarkably calm cow. Now somewhere amid all that panic, an elderly dairy cow appeared. Nobody knows exactly where she came from. Maybe she escaped from a nearby dairy farm. Maybe she wandered away when the fences collapsed. Maybe she simply woke up that morning and decided she had to go run some errands. Whatever happened, there she was, walking down through the refugee camp, completely calm, completely unconcerned, absolutely oblivious to the fact that one of America's worst and greatest disasters was underway. You know the type. Every family has one. The house is on fire and they're asking, "Anybody know where I left my hat?" That was this cow. The city was losing its mind. The cow was having a Tuesday. There was a baby among these refugees, or mothers, struggling to care for their children. Food was scarce, supplies were uncertain. Infants needed milk. The earthquake didn't stop babies from being hungry. A crying baby doesn't care about natural disasters. The baby will basically look at a city catastrophe and respond with, "That's unfortunate anyway. I'd like some lunch." And honestly, I'd respect that level of commitment. However, there was a discovery. The word began spreading through the camp. Someone had found a cow. Not beef, not leather, not livestock, a milk cow. A real honest-to-goodness dairy cow. The kind that could help feed children. Now, if you've never lived in a small town, let me explain how information travels. One person says, "There's a cow." 5 minutes later, somebody else says, "I heard there's a cow giving away free milk." 10 minutes later, somebody claims, apparently the cow owns 3 businesses and is running for mayor. Rumors move fast. Always have, always will. Before long, people gathered around this animal. Mothers carrying infants, children watching curiously, men holding buckets and whatever containers they could find. And right there, amid smoke and uncertainty, milk was collected. Imagine the scene. The skyline behind them burning, ash drifting through the air, refugees everywhere, and in the middle stands this patient cow, looking around at humanity's latest mess, chewing thoughtfully, probably wondering why these 2-legged creatures couldn't keep their building standing. Different reactions came from the survivors. One of the remarkable things about disaster accounts is how often survivors remember ordinary moments. Not the grand speeches, not the officials. They remember them ordinary moments. A shared sandwich, a stranger's kindness, a laugh at exactly the right time, a cow standing quietly while frightened families found a little comfort. Imagine the conversation. Did your house survive? No. You? No. Any idea when we're going to get to do next? Any idea where we're going to do next? No. Pause. Hey, but at least we found a cow. That's humanity, right? The ability to locate one bright spot inside of a whole, complete system of chaos. That cow, well, she became a celebrity. Every refugee has unofficial celebrities. Somebody who cooks, somebody who organizes, and somebody who knows everything. Well, apparently, this refugee camp had one dairy cow. And by the second day, folks probably knew exactly where she was. Children likely came searching, parents likely pointed her out, and maybe people smiled for the first time in hours, even days. Because it's hard to stay completely miserable while looking at a dairy cow. They're nature's reminder that life's in no hurry. My favorite part? Here's the thing that gets me. The cow wasn't brave. She wasn't heroic. She wasn't trying to save anybody. She was just being a cow. And somehow, that's what makes the story beautiful. Because while humans were worried about tomorrow, the cow was worried about grass. While politicians worried about rebuilding, the cow was chewing. While newspapers worried about headlines, the cow was standing there, looking pleasantly confused. And honestly, there's a life lesson in that. Let's have some southern wisdom from a cow. Now sitting here on a porch, over the century later, I think that old cow might have understood something we forget. The world doesn't end all at once. Life keeps happening. People still help each other. Babies still need feeding. Friends still share meals. Neighbors still show kindness. And sometimes hope shows up in the forms nobody expected. Not a horse, not a uniform, not carrying a speech. Sometimes hope strolls up into camp with 4 hooves and a tail and bringing its own milk. That cow began rebuilding spirits. The milk didn't rebuild San Francisco. The cow didn't stop the fires. The animal didn't repair homes. But that's not why people remember the story. People remembered because it represented comfort, something familiar, something normal. One tiny reminder that not everything had been lost. And when you watched your city burn, normal starts feeling pretty special. That legend has grown over the years, and as the years have passed, the story only grew. That's what happens with good stories. They settle into the community's memory. Grandparents tell grandchildren, neighbors tell neighbors, details change, humor grows, but the heart always stays the same. The city was hurting, the cow helped. Simple as that. Folks, the 1906 earthquake and the fire destroyed so much of San Francisco, but it couldn't destroy the people. It couldn't destroy compassion. It couldn't destroy humor. And it couldn't destroy the simple human ability to find hope in the unexpected places. That's why I love this story. Because in a week defined by destruction, someone remembered kindness, someone remembered survival, and someone, well, they remembered a cow. Maybe that's because the biggest stories aren't always about famous people. Sometimes they're about ordinary creatures reminding us that life goes on. And if there's one lesson worth carrying with us tonight, it's this. When the ground shakes beneath you and your feet feel the trembling, when the smoke gets thick, when it feels like the whole world has lost its mind, look around. You might just find your own cow. This has been Mile Markers, Memories and Milestones, and I'm Shell. Until next time, friends, take care of one another. And don't underestimate the power of a good old dairy cow. Come back for part 4, and we'll see you in a minute.